The Yanomami, living in the remote Venezuelan Amazon on the border with Brazil, have been surviving as semi-nomadic hunter-gatherers for thousands of years, relatively untouched by modern civilization or the Venezuelan government. In the short period between 2001 and 2013, a unique experiment in human evolution was conducted by the Venezuelan government. Newly elected Hugo Chavez, heavy with oil riches, decided to bring the Yanomami into the Venezuelan socialist welfare state. This story documents that experiment at a Yanomami community called Yanomami. My wife Olga, a photojournalist, and I made our first visit to Yanomami in November 2000. We had no idea then that this would become a 20-year project, nor the surprising changes we would encounter.
The Venezuelan Amazon is home to one of the last relatively unacculturated indigenous tribes in the world, the Yanomami Indians. Increased contacts over the past 25 years with the outside world has dramatically impacted these Indians. In November of 2000, the Venezuelan government closed Yanomami lands to outsiders. Historically, the Yanomami lived as hunter-gatherers in the highland forests with few possessions. What limited steel goods they had were obtained from other Indian groups who traded with outsiders since the days of the earliest explorers and colonial settlers. During the 1950s, coveted items such as machetes, axes, metal pots, and fishhooks were brought by missionaries who established outposts along the navigable sections of the upper Orinoco River. The Indians migrated towards these outposts for access to these items. Migration continued, and contact with the outside world increased as other missionaries, anthropologists, miners, military, and other government workers used canoes with outboard motors to reach the Indians more effectively. Many Yanomami learned Spanish as a result of these contacts. From outsiders, they obtained more goods, beads, sugar, clothes, and guns. They also got new diseases. By 1990, the Amazon gold rush brought miners and along with them more guns, alcohol, money, river pollution, prostitution, and more diseases. River traffic continues to bring the Yanomami who live along navigable waterways, increasing contact with the outside world, despite government efforts to limit contacts. Supply boats and motorized canoes carrying merchants, military and government workers, local residents, and gold miners are routinely encountered, exposing the Indians to new ways of life and to new illnesses. In the Yanomami culture, bad spirits cause diseases. This hallucinogen ceremony has been passed down from generation to generation as a way to heal the sick and communicate with the spirit world. The headman's son has a fever, and the bad spirits need purging. An initial wave of nausea and retching gives way to a drug-induced state. Only the men are allowed to participate in this ritual, where a hallucinogenic powder, ibini, is blown up their noses. While the men practice their old form of medicine, the women practice traditions of their own, spinning oiled cotton, talking, tending to children, and grooming lice from their hair. These Indians live along a navigable river with routine contacts with the outside world. They are undergoing rapid acculturation and straddle two worlds. One of ancient traditions where bad spirits cause sickness. The other, a world of modern man with new diseases and powerful medicines. They chant to the spirit world for healing and ask for aspirina to give to the baby.
Traditionally, Yanomami villages are deep in the jungle, off small rivers that cannot support motorized canoes during the dry season. With the explosion of illegal gold mining in the Amazon and the associated boat traffic, I decided to focus my work on a Yanomami village our guide recommended, where the Siapa and Casiquiare meet. It was 4 days by motorboat from Puerto Ayacucho. So I decided I would really focus my efforts on finding one village to see how the outside world had encroached upon their lifestyle.
What we knew about the Yanomami was from anthropology books and Napoleon Chagnon studies and films. They had a reputation for being the fierce warriors.
They build the house like this because they had a lot of ethic. If one try attack here, they got a place for escape. Because normally when they got a war, they attack in the evening, in the night, not by day.
The Yanomami went to their other Shibono. So tomorrow we're going to go to another Shibono up the Siapa River.
As we're sleeping there at night, I'm feeling like, what if they come home? Here we are, we're not invited. You don't know if they're going to be upset.
Let me get the banana trees. The next day, we found the village community garden and met the chief, Tomas. He invited us to his village. It turned out that the other Shibono was actually a small village of thatched huts. Part of the year they lived there, and part of the year they moved back to their more traditional Shibono. We stayed for a week. They were incredibly open to us and let us video anything we wanted. Tomas was in charge of the village. His brother Guillermo was the big chief, but Guillermo wasn't there and left Tomas in charge. We had to bring gifts. When other Yanomami visit the Yanomami, they exchange gifts. Our guide knew what they would want. It's a delicate thing because since they have nothing, the material goods we bring have much greater value than we would associate with them. Things we wouldn't even blink about. They were significant because when you have nothing, those things are a big deal. They were still hunter-gatherers, semi-nomadic hunter-gatherers. They also grew some of their own food.
And Yanomami Gurata?
Yanomami curata.
They also grew tobacco, which they mixed with ashes and placed in a wad under their bottom lip.
If they do it all day, they crazy for tobacco. But for tobacco like this.
They navigated the waterways by paddling. They had seen motors. They wanted a motor. They had metal pots. Fish hooks were very valuable. We brought them fish hooks. They were very appreciative. And they had plastic jugs for carrying water. They had machetes. It's hard to imagine living in the jungle without a machete. It creates such an improvement in terms of getting food, preparing food. When the first missionaries encountered the Yanomami in the early 1950s, they brought machetes as gifts. Large groups of Indians, whole villages, moved down to the waterways to be closer to the missionaries, to be closer to traders, to have access to things that made their lives so much easier. They didn't know much about the outside world, but they knew enough to know that there was a lot of stuff, a lot of good stuff. There was this desire. Our boatman took his gun out, and a guy named Blas, he was just enamored. He wanted this gun. But I thought, how is he going to get money to get a gun? The only way they could get money really was they smoked fish and traded it. From what we saw, this group of Yanomami were self-sufficient. We certainly made a connection with some of the individuals in that village. I remember, Tomas, the village headman, and Francisco, who also spoke a little Spanish, and Blas. So where are these people now? What are they doing? In the last decade, Hugo Chavez, enabled by very high oil revenues, greatly expanded his socialist revolution. He nationalized most large industries and expanded government delivery of social services throughout Venezuela. Chavez also enshrined indigenous rights in a new constitution, which involved bringing tribes like the Yanomami under the country's cultural, social, and economic umbrella. We set out to visit this Yanomami village again to see these changes for ourselves.
Oh, fried ants.
So we go back in 2011
Yeah, good?
and we hire Juan Carlos to be our guide again.
Lot of proteins. It tastes like lemon.
This tastes like lemon, these ants? Are these alive?
How do I eat it?
Just pop in your mouth.
The whole thing.
Yeah. How long are they in town for?
We stay here for 1 week.
When we arrived in Puerto Ayacucho, we immediately noticed that there were Yanomami on the street, and they were buying things. This was totally different than 10 years earlier. My first thought was, where are they getting the money? How are they getting here? There were slogans on the walls that were all about the Indians being part of Venezuelan society, and that was new. Beforehand, the Indians were, I think, considered second-class citizens. Before we left Puerto Ayacucho for Yanomami land, we visited a place called Salud Yanomami. It was a school training Yanomami to be healthcare workers in the field. This didn't exist 10 years earlier.
¿Cuántos alumnos van a tener?
42.
¿Y qué van a estudiar?
Medicina.
Right after our first visit, the government had restricted access to the Amazonas region. Hugo Chavez had kicked the missionaries out. They gave the Yanomami the vote, so the government went into that vacuum. There are very few places in the world that are really isolated anymore. The Yanomami happen to live in one of those areas. We saw that the government health program had reached much deeper into the jungle than the missionaries ever got. They were using helicopters to get to remote villages that would take over 2 weeks to reach by land. Before motors, when people were just paddling, it would have been weeks and weeks to make that journey. "10,000 years ago, we all lived more or less like the Yanomami, and the history of our hunter-gatherer past was never written. So when the last of the hunter-gatherers are gone, that part of our history, our shared history, will be gone forever."
It's much bigger.
They got the electricity.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
We had come all this way, and we arrived at the village,
Maybe they would remember you.
and they wouldn't let us shoot.
Look at it.
Rainy?
Sí.
And I took out this picture book I had made of our visit in 2000. When they saw that, everything changed.
¿Tu papá?
Ajá.
They had never seen anything like this. This was a mirror into their past.
Pero necesitamos fotografía. ¿Está bien?
Tú vas a tomar fotos aquí en la comunidad. Si tú puedes.
Sí,
Si tú puedes entregarlo y todo eso aferrado, para que tú me lo
Sí.
regreses.
Está el jefe, ¿sí?
Macarino is the acting chief's son. He was 10 years old the last time we visited. He was a curious kid. He followed us around a lot. We were hoping to see Tomas again. He was in charge of the village last time, but they told us that Tomas was sick and in a hospital in Puerto Ayacucho. And just like last time, the official village chief, Guillermo, was also away.
It's unbelievable that now they have street lights. The government's obviously made an investment here in the quality of life. There's a school.
Blas was the teacher, the very first member of the community that we interviewed. He had spent time outside of the village, so he had seen the outside world.
Nosotros aquí compramos, ahí escuchamos música, se dañó. Nosotros compramos toda una plantica, una VH, DVD.
DVD. ¿Tiene
Ah.
DVD?
DVD tenía.
He started talking about TVs, DVDs, as if he lived in San Francisco.
DVD.
TV, television.
Ajá.
¿Tiene?
No, no,
No, no.
no.
Va a comprar.
Ahorita yo voy a comprar otra vez.
Ah.
And after we did the interview, we went to his hut. He had nothing.
Teléfono yo quiero, otro día yo voy a comprar.
So we quickly understood these were not things he had, these were things he wanted.
Ahí se prende planta aquí. Necesita luz.
¿Y cuándo necesitas luz?
No, ahorita no tiene nada porque se falló. No hay batería, no hay gasoil, no hay aceite.
¿Dónde está la batería?
Batería, no sé, batería se vendió por ahí.
¿La vendieron?
Así
Sí,
es.
sí,
¿Y funcionaba antes?
un ratiquito, como por ahí, como 20 minutos. Y después, tarde mismo, no prende más. Y se prende 5 minutos, se apaga. Ahí se apaga aquí, un botón. Se apaga aquí.
My first impression of Macarena was he had lived in the modern world and he was dressed like we dress, kind of like someone I might meet on the street at home. I thought it was a total change.
Yo estuve en Puerto Ayacucho estudiando en universidad. Entonces aprendí el español, la verdad es. Y yo estuve haciendo cursos de medicina, enfermería también. Por ejemplo, si tiene neumonía, se aplica el tratamiento acitromicina y amoxicilina. Son lo que viene ampolla, eso. Lo que da inyección, eso. Todo eso. Tienen que tomar la muestra de gota gruesa para examinarlo a ver qué tiene mi enfermedad, o tiene el tipo A, o tiene paludismo, eso. Ese sí, los chamanes no se puede curar qué enfermedad cuál es. Ajá. Otra cosa, hay una persona que está con brujo, ¿verdad? Que está con brujo. Ese sí los chamanes lo curan. Ese sí lo curan por 5 días. Por 5 días lo curan. Ellos son brujos. Mi papá es brujo, mi tío brujo.
When we first got there, it appeared that they really made tremendous progress. As we spent time with them, we realized that day-to-day life was not that different from in the year 2000. This was like a Potemkin village. What it looked like was not really what it was. They spent a lot of time just getting food.
Nada.
Nosotros necesitamos un plato para comer y compramos una cucharilla para comer, ¿ves? Necesita comprar olla para cocinar, ¿ves? Ese mismo todo compramos, necesitamos nosotros. Necesita comprar comida, necesita comprar café, azúcar, arroz, arepa, aceite para fritar.
Yo necesito machete, chor, franera y
¿Cómo?
comida.
¿Cómo?
Con dinero, pues, con plata.
¿De dónde conseguiste el dinero?
Yo pedía por gobernación, allá hay alcalde, pero siempre que yo pedía allá,
Ok. ¿Tú vas allá a buscar dinero para trabajar o solamente para pedir?
pedir más nada.
Only
pedir.
to
O sea, porque
ask
yo
for
estoy
giving the
pobre.
money.
When we were there 10 years earlier, I don't think they thought of themselves as poor. They didn't have anything, but they seemed to have everything they needed.
Zapatos, grema para que,
To space.
grema y zapatos, en colonia, todo. El cloro para que el agua con ropa.
I'm very worried because after 8 years, I think 8 years I don't come here, it's the new generation change. Because so the old people keep their cultures. If this new generation change, what happened? 10 years you come back 10 years here. Like the history I tell you, the Yanomami in Sehal, the mayor give you an engine and they go to fishing to the Caciquiare by paddle. When they broke in the engine, they said, Juan Carlos, you can take the engine to Puerto Ayacucho to fishing because now we cannot go to the Caciquiare to fishing. We don't have no engine, but before they do it by paddle. You don't know television, you don't need a television. You know? If you don't know for example, the car, you don't need a car. If they don't never see the engine, they don't need the engine. Because the Yanomami who living in Putaco, they don't need the engine, but they don't know the engine. Y cambiar una cultura es algo delicado, es algo grave.
Juan Carlos also told us that Yanomami of retirement age were getting small pensions, including the women. For years, the missionaries had told the Yanomami that it was shameful to go around naked, and they gave them clothes to wear. But the missionaries were gone, so now they needed to buy their clothes. The government gave them a motorboat. That was much easier than paddling to get everywhere. But now they needed to get gasoline. After hearing Blas and Francisco talk about all the things they wanted, the pots and pans, the food, the cologne, the Clorox, they didn't seem to have much more than they had 10 years earlier. If some people were receiving salaries and others were getting small pensions, where did the money go? There was no store in the village to buy anything. For a while, this was a complete mystery. In 2000, our primary connection to the village was Tomas, but Tomas wasn't in Widianawi.
Tomás estaba enfermo. Estaba sufriendo hace tiempo, porque que lleva ahí 12 años cuando estaba sufriendo. Y por eso está para Ayacucho ahorita. Está hospitalizado.
¿Y podemos ir al hospital para visitar a él?
Sí, sí.
Sí.
Sí, cuando tú llegas ahí por Ayacucho y puedes ir a visitar con él. Ahí está su hermano, todo.
y su familia, todo ahí. Su hermano mayor y su hermano menor, otros. Por ahí está todo. Guillermo y Marín. Por ahí está en Ayacucho todo.
I was disappointed that Tomas wasn't in the village. I had seen how much the people in Yanomami had changed in terms of their awareness of the outside world. Now Tomas was living in the outside world, and his family was with him. We needed to go to Puerto Ayacucho and see how he's adapted, how he's changed. His family's there. How are they living? Blas was hitching a ride with us to San Carlos. Because of the lack of gasoline, no one had been able to pick up the pension money. Blas was coming to get it and bring it back to the village.
Pensionado de la gobernación. ¿Quiere comunicar ese Marín? Mira, ahí está 5 personas, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
¿Qué problema tienen ellos?
Pero él comió dinero con ellos,
¿Ah?
el pensionado.
¿Él cobró el dinero?
Sí, en Ayacucho.
¿Y qué quiere que se lo mande?
Sí, para que preguntar con él cuánto hay.
¿Cuánto dinero hay?
Cuando sacaste el dinero de ellos, para que no vengan a cobrar con ellos. Yo voy a avisar con ese Marí. Marí, es que cuando le retirar el dinero de ellos, si tú me dices, para que no venga más para acá a cobrar con ella. Le voy a decir con él.
Fiesta, mujeres buenas, todos se están brindando, con esta gozadera se amanece bailando.
We found the missing pension thing confusing, and we promised Blas we would follow up on it with Marin when we got back to Puerto Ayacucho. We were told that Tomas was in the hospital, and we thought he could lead us to Marin. Tomas was not there. We had heard about a guest house where some of the Yanomami were staying. It was an opportunity to talk to some of them, and we also hoped we'd find Tomas there. We didn't, but we met a young man named Federico.
¿Y por qué viniste acá?
Me invitaron para acá, me lo moví a Ayacucho para que tú compres tu cosita y me dijeron me venía aquí, pero ni siquiera tampoco no me ayudaron aquí. Sí, porque algunos ya no me son mal. Sí, aquí se vuelve loco con el real, ¿no? Sí, y por eso me jodieron aquí.
¿Por qué se vuelven locos?
Bueno, por la plata. Sí.
Juan Carlos ran into Marin at the bank. Marin was getting money from his government account. Juan Carlos made arrangements for all of us to meet at his office.
Marín, me llamo Cliff. Cliff. Yo conozco su hermano Tomás. Sí, está.
Anita.
Este es mi hermano.
Marisol.
Marisol. Este está muerto también. Este sí está.
We'd like to see Tomás.
Okay.
Tomás, la cabeza está más bueno, ¿no?
Sí, no, todavía problemas, sufre de cabeza. Tiene úlcera.
Ah, también.
Úlcera, sí, enfermo. No hay tratamiento. No hay plata para comprar tratamiento de Tomás. Nada. Por eso Tomás sufre. Pero no quiere estar hospitalizado.
Marin was taking us to see Tomas, and we were finally going to meet their older brother Guillermo, the big chief of the village. We were walking to this encampment. There was a little creek there where the kids were swimming. It was a different lifestyle. They're still sleeping in hammocks, but it was not living in the jungle. Most of the day would be spent normally getting food. They bought their food. We got the sense that they were just liking living in the city, and they were clearly accustomed to that. When we first got there, Guillermo was emphatic that we had to turn our cameras off.
Hace 10 años, Coromoto.
Exacto. No, gracias.
Until we brought the picture book out. And then again, they were just totally curious about this flashback 10 years.
Aló. Alejandra.
Tomas didn't look sick, really. We were wondering, what the story was, and we asked Tomas.
Estoy tiempo enfermo, tiempo, dolor de cabeza hasta mi corazón. Tiempo. 4 años sufriendo por cabeza y dolor.
4 años.
Claro.
Problema grande, ¿sí?
Tengo problemas grandes.
Pues págame, usted me saca la foto ahí, mi hija.
Mañana, podemos mañana.
Dinero. Este es mi sobrino, mi hija, yo necesito. Este aquí el otro.
Okay, so he wants this one.
And the other
Este es mi
one.
sobrino, mi hija.
Yeah, Guillermo wants this one. Podemos darlos copias.
Say to me that we are use it, the people there, to make videos and film. I think we don't use anybody. We ask it. We respect the people. Everything we promised, we did. They said to me, okay, the next time you have to speak to me, and you pay to me, and you do everything with me. Cash. It's a cash.
Otra vez, en 10 años más. Otra vez. En 10 años voy a visitar en su comunidad. ¿Ok?
Si no muere, pues.
Más viejo.
Si no muere.
What struck me most was that the Yanomami we met seemed unaware of the forces brought by the introduction of money. It was as if they were being carried on a strong current that was taking them towards some unknown place. I wasn't optimistic about the future of the Yanomami. The allure of money and what it can get us is very powerful and universal. But I see how indigenous people are treated all over the world when they enter the money economy.
The last 10 years have not been kind to Venezuelans. After Hugo Chavez died and Nicolas Maduro took his place, the situation in Venezuela continued to get worse. The country is bankrupt, with an economy that has shut down. The middle class is going hungry, and the poor are desperate, which is one cause of the endemic crime and corruption across society. Once the COVID pandemic hit in 2020, I knew it would be a very long time until I could go back. So I decided to go to the internet for help. I was able to find a local Venezuelan video journalist and connected him with our previous guide, Juan Carlos. I asked them to go together to document village life with the Yanomami we first met 20 years earlier.
Bueno, nuestro destino final es llegar a la comunidad Yanomami, que está en el Orinoco, más abajo del río Fiapa. Bueno, entonces yo pienso que bastante, porque la primera vez que estuve con Clip, estaban en una comunidad típica, claro, algunos con sus trajes típicos, otros con ropa, nosotros. Pero era más puro todavía. Bueno, la segunda vez que hice un viaje con Clip, tenían hasta postes eléctricos, plantas eléctricas. Hay mucho tráfico de barcos que van hacia San Carlos del Río Negro, llevando la mercancía para las personas que tienen negocios y viceversa. Y barcos que vienen de Brasil con mercancía, más que todo ahora, hacia la mina. Como hay mucho tráfico, entonces a eso se debe que haya la penetración cultural. Pero en la realidad, ellos nunca han necesitado de nosotros. Ellos son autosuficientes. Tienen todo en la selva. Hay sitios donde tienes que navegar y darle duro para llegar y le das Yanomami puro. Todavía sí.
Cuéntame, Juan Carlos, ¿qué tienes atrás tuyo?
Ese es el Parque Nacional Cerro Yapacana. Tiene una altura de 1.300 metros. Y desgraciadamente, pues aquí la minería es ilegal, pero bueno, se ha permitido con publicidad, para mí que también los mismos militares.
While miners pose an increasing threat to the Yanomami people, farmers have also moved into the Amazon region. Carlos Gonzalez established his farm at the mouth of the Rio Pasiba on the Cassiquiare when it was raw jungle, about an hour upriver from Widianawi. It was at the edge of Yanomami land, but it was not a Yanomami village. Carlos witnessed the Yanomami migration to this area from deeper in the interior.
Por aquí llevo 38 años viviendo por aquí, en el Caciquiare, en este río. Bueno, ha cambiado muchas cosas, porque cuando llegamos aquí esto era pura selva, monte pues. Y bueno, y ahorita ha cambiado porque ya hemos sacado, o sea, provecho, como decir, la siembra. Vivo con mi familia, los hermanos, mi sobrina, hermana, todos vivimos aquí en esta comunidad. Me gusta vivir porque aquí se nos hace la cosa más fácil, la comida, más que todo, porque por el pescado, la cacería, la siembra, el conuco. Vamos a seguir viviendo aquí porque esto es nuestra tierra, pues nuestra comunidad, nuestro río, y muy, muy contento con la familia aquí, es todo bien. Pues nosotros trabajamos duro, el conuco trabajamos muy duro, pero lastimosamente los vecinos Yanomami esperan que nuestra cosecha esté cosechada, y cuando está bien cosechada vienen los vecinos y decir, o sea, no roban pues, porque ellos no trabajan. Y ellos lo que esperan que uno trabaje y no sé, no llevan la cosecha. Desde que llegamos no, porque anteriormente ellos no vivían aquí. Hace como 20 años que llegaron ellos, empezaron a robarnos, pues prácticamente a robarnos.
Pablo en las calles escutas.
En 2007 aquí nosotros trabajamos otra vez. Ahí nosotros nos arrepentí otra vez. Yo me llegué otra vez maestro. Ahí trabaja alcaldía. Nosotros trabajamos alcaldía y nosotros ganamos sueldo. Yo enseñaba a los alumnos. Yo tengo 35 alumnos. Y 2 años está cerrado aquí la escuela, 2 años. Pero ¿cómo están los niños? Está perdiendo mucho. Así nada más que camina los muchachos ahorita. Ligorio ayudaba. Escolar, plato, comida, pae. Ellos ayudaban a Ligorio. Ahorita cambiando otro gobierno. Todo material Ligorio le hizo esta escuela. Ese Ligorio de esa escuela lo hizo ese Ligorio. Y el plante ahí está en Guaya. Y le funciona la luz. Aquí nosotros recibimos luz. Aquí. Ahí tiene 5 barcos. No sé, 17 metros barco Ligorio. Ayudaba a la gente aquí en Tiene radiocomunicaciones. Ligorio ayudaba bastante a la indígena. Ahorita el gobernador Miguel Rodríguez está trabajando ahorita. Ahora no está mandando nada a una escolar. Más bien está abandonando el gobierno ahorita. Mira, muy difícil ahorita para ayudar a los indígenas. Nosotros necesitamos machete, hacha, de lima, de motores, arralladoras, portagrama, cigüeña, de todo, motosierra. Y nosotros necesitaba hacer un recurso por nosotros. Andaban los motores, andaban para todos los motores, bote de metal. Y necesitaba en pueblo, necesitaba. Allá en Sacapunta no tenías lápiz, los cuadernos, morral, uniforme, pantalones, toda una chancla. No tenemos.
Done job. Hey, kakta waktai. Tamam, ihe nagpapalya. Kita siya. Hey, hati mo. Kasap na.
Ya makanya.
Ayun yung kuya. Ay, po. Objector.
Cesta que están haciendo.
Un cauce humano, esto todo.
Así que ada
La de vamos no como mansao.
Aquí hay muchas necesidades porque ya les dije que porque la gente pidieron que esas mismas. Antes no había así. Antes trabajaban, antes sí, muchas cosas habían. Por ejemplo, habían palangana, habían comida, por ejemplo, arroz, pasta, y teníamos fronteras, linternas, y las mujeres tenían plato, balde para buscar el agua. Y bueno, ellos tenían todo antes, pero ahorita no es así porque el tiempo ahorita se es tan duro. Bueno, por la culpa del gobierno, mejor dicho. ¿No? Es porque antes el gobierno, cuando era el presidente finado Chávez Hugo Frías, cuando él estaba en el presidencial, había muchas cosas. Por ejemplo, había machete, lima y chícora. Todos los comerciantes tenían esa herramienta antes había. Pero ahorita, como el presidente Nicolás Maduro, todo se hundió en Venezuela. Porque ahorita, por ejemplo, en el comercio, tú no vas a conseguir machete, tú no vas a conseguir lima. ¿Y ahora dónde tú vas a conseguir plata para comprarle?
Reserva, como sembrado, pues, lo que usaba los aldeanos. El que conociera, lo conocía ellos. Los que lo vieron. No. Ajá. Vamos a seguir, Moca.
Ya mama taruh. Ada. Hai ka hai. Mira.
Estaba ahí un vaquero así tumbado, acostado, 2 años. Ahí no disparó primero. No bien, no fue bien. Después segundo, estaba ahí, cuando estaba ahí todo parado ahí, tampoco no flotó bien. Fuera ahí pólvora bueno, pólvora blanca así. Ahí sí, fuera flotado bien, fuera yo, podía matar. Tres vacas.
De 9 años he venido bastante deteriorada, los cambios, hambre porque como ellos, la transculturización pues ha llevado a eso, a depender de los productos que utilizamos nosotros, el arroz, la pasta, ya no salen a pescar. Y esa es parte de la transculturización, que ellos ya no, el Yanomami, ahora, antes venían remando de Cumacapi, ahora si no quieren gasolina no van, o sea, no entiendo la transculturización tan fuerte, pues, ha caído sobre ellos. No tenían esas necesidades que tienen ahora, verdaderamente, que hay mucha gente con hambre, pues, con bastante hambre. Pero justamente por eso, porque el Yanomami, en su esencia, no necesita de nosotros, verdaderamente.
Bueno, amigo, no sé, años, tú sabes que ya no sabe contar años, pues. Yo no sé, pero no sé qué año estamos aquí hoy día. Click vino, no se sabe qué años tiempo me vinieron, tiene como 10 años. Era bueno, mejor tiempo, el que pasó es tiempo. Bueno, pero mucho bueno todavía para ayudarse ellos mismos cuando venía con Click. Ahora se abandonó mucho comodidad. Los gobiernos. Hambre. Ese mundo ahorita hambre.